Hi everyone, my name is Sierra. I hope you're having a happy Sunday or whatever day you decide to watch this video. This is also my first YouTube video, so I apologize for any awkwardness that might happen. I might look away, I might use a lot of filler words. My voice is also very monotone, so I apologize if the video might drag. And I'm also a little nervous too, so please bear with me. I'm also recording with my iPhone, so I don't have any fancy edits that are going to happen to make this video more interesting. The lighting looks okay. I hope that's fine with y'all. I've been wanting to make this video for a few years now, but I'm just going to be honest, it's never been a priority for me. But lately I've been having the urge to actually sit down and record the video. So right now is a good time. I don't have anybody around to hear me talk. And I've also been a little nervous to hear how I sound in front of the camera. So that's also why I've been putting it off. So right now is a good time and I'm going to make this video. So as you can tell from the title of this video, I took Depo-Provera. If you do not know what Depo-Provera is, it is a form of birth control. It is a shot. I took it from January 2016 all the way to September 2016. So about 8 months, and I got a total of two or three shots. I got it on my left arm. And before I get started with my story, I just want to say I am not a medical professional. I am not giving out any medical advice. I am just simply talking about my own experience. Another thing I want to address is that I know that birth control affects everybody differently. Just because I had a horrible experience with Depo-Provera does not mean that all other women will have the same experience. I know there's women that love the Depo-Provera shot. Me, I was not one of the fortunate ones. I had a horrible experience with it. So if you are someone who's taken the Depo-Provera shot and you love it, good for you. This video is not intended for you then, but please feel free to watch it. I made this video because whenever I was going through my horrible experience with it, I was watching YouTube videos left and right, hearing other women's horrible experience with it, to give me a sense of hope and to make me feel like, okay, I'm not just losing my mind. And I wanted to be able to be that other person that can help someone who's currently going through a dark time with the shot, to let them know that, you're not alone. I've been there, and, I'm rooting for you. I'm hoping that you can feel better. I'm hoping that you decide to get off of it if you are really experiencing the lowest of lows, because I've been there, and I'm truly sorry that you are currently going through it. One thing is that I can't say if it will get better if you continue to get on it. If you continue to be on it. But for me personally, I knew I had to be off of it because it was making me feel at my worst. And I'm hoping that you decide to do what is best for you. And hopefully you can relate to some of this video. And like I said, I'm sorry that you are going through this, and if you get off of it, I hope that you have a speedy recovery. So let me get started with my story. So I got on birth control because I was experiencing painful menstrual cramps. I started to get painful menstrual cramps around 2015, and as the months progressed, I started to get even worse pains. And 2016 came along. It was January, and I remember I had experienced the worst pain in my life. I had no idea at the time that it was my cycle, because I was not keeping track of my cycle, because sometimes it would fluctuate. During the month of when I would get it. Sometimes the middle, sometimes the end, sometimes the beginning. So it was never really consistent. So whenever I got the pain, it lasted about 30 minutes. I remember I was alone in my house. I ran to the bathroom. I was hunched over. I was crying. I was yelling. I was sweating so much. I ended up taking off my shirt. My cat was looking at me to figure out what was going on. I had no idea what was going on. I called my mom, telling her, I need to go to the hospital. Can you get an ambulance to come here? I have no idea what's going on. And she said that she was going to come and check up on me, and so was my stepdad. So when that 30 minutes of pain went away, it was horrible. I literally crawled to my bed and I lay down in a fetal position with my shirt inside out and backwards. And my stepdad came and checked on me, and then my mom came and checked up on me, and she took me to the minor emergency. So when I went to the minor emergency, the doctor was telling me that I should go see an OBGYN. So let me just say, I was 19 at the time. I've never been on birth control. I had no idea there was different types of birth control. Never took the time to actually research the different kinds of birth control. The only one I've ever heard of was the pill. So before I had my appointment, my mom was telling me, oh, I think you should get on the patch. And I was like, okay, Mom, I'm just going to go with the first one that the doctor tells me, which was a bad idea on my part, because I didn't do any research beforehand. And like I had said, birth control affects everybody differently. So when I went to the OBGYN, I told her about my painful cramps. Luckily, I was not diagnosed with endometriosis. And she was telling me all these different types of birth control. I was not given any paper information. She was just telling me all of this by mouth. It was just information overload. I just had to be all ears. And she made it seem like the Depo-Provera shot was the one for me. She was like, oh, you don't have to remember to take it, just like the pill. You won't have something on your arm like the patch. You won't have something stuck inside of you. So I was like, okay, the shot sounds like a good deal for me. She was telling me how I would have to get it once every 2 to 3 months. All I have to do is just schedule a doctor's appointment and I would get it. So one of the things she told me was that if I were to be on it for more than 2 years, my bones would get brittle. And she told me I would have to be taking calcium supplements to help with that. It sounded pretty scary because, I don't know about y'all, but being told at 19 that your bones could get brittle from a medicine sounds pretty scary. Even though I was a healthy 19-year-old, I would think worrying about my bones would be the least of my concerns until I was much older. Yeah, I have to take care of myself, and so I can be healthy and so I can live a healthy life. But I would think that my bones would be the least of my concern at that age. So even though it sounded scary, I still went along with my OBGYN and decided to go with the Depo-Provera shot. So another thing she asked me was if I was diagnosed with depression. I said no, I had never been depressed at that time. I was not taking anything for depression. And however, I do have a family history of depression. I was not asked about my family history. I don't know if that would have had any effect. I don't know if that would be in, sorry, I lost my train of thought. If that would be an important piece of information she could have asked me, because I do have a family history of depression. So, even though I didn't have it, eventually I did get it when I was on my birth control. So I went with the shot, and let me just tell you, at the time, I did not think I would experience any side effects because I was like, I don't have any health problems to begin with. I'm healthy, I'm young. What's this gonna do to me? So I didn't, which I was really wrong. I did not take the time to do research for myself, which I know now. So about a month in after the shot, I started noticing that I was getting a little bit more intense. I was getting a little bit angry. However, as the months progressed, my symptoms started to get worse. I was becoming more angry. I was ready just to go off on anybody or anything if it did not go right. I was not violent, but I did have a lot of anger. So around June, I started to experience nausea and anxiety. And it was the worst feeling. My symptoms started to get worse. I had such a hard time trying to go to sleep because I would experience nausea and anxiety at night. I would have nights where I would just be up at 1, 2, 3 a.m. just feeling like crap, just experiencing so much nausea, so much anxiety. I was popping gum just to help me with my nerves because it always helps me with the mint. I had so much anxiety, which I had never experienced before, even with, nausea as well. And I would be watching de-stressing YouTube videos to help me calm my mind. I would have nights where I would just be sitting next to the toilet, and it took a while for me to overcome this so I can feel comfortable to go to bed. So whenever I would go to bed, I would eventually wake up and still feel like crap. I would even have nights where I would get up from my room, start walking around my house in the middle of the night, just trying to tell myself everything's gonna be okay. You're gonna be fine. Or I would even have nights where I would go up to my front door, just sit in front of it, just look out the window and just try to clear my mind. And I would even scroll through my phone just to tell myself everything's gonna be fine. And eventually later in the night, I would feel better enough to go to bed. So by the middle of the year, I had anger, a lot of anger. My mom was even afraid to come up to me. I was going off on anybody or anything that if nobody said anything right, or if anything did not go right, I would just go off. I was becoming a monster. So I had anger, I had nausea, I had anxiety. Eventually with the nausea and anxiety, I had a loss of appetite. Eventually I started to lose weight because of the nausea and the anxiety that I had. I wouldn't have an appetite. I was just only drinking liquids. I was slowly losing weight. My family started noticing there was changes in me. They especially noticed I was losing weight. Even people outside of my family noticed I was losing weight. And all this time I was like, I'm running, so of course I'm going to be losing weight. And yeah, I was feeling bad, but I did not think it hardly crossed my mind that the birth control was making me feel this way. And it sounds pretty dumb because it's like, Sierra, if you never felt like this in your life, why didn't you put 2 and 2 together? Well, the thing is that I would get my shot once every 2 to 3 months. So that was, one of the last things I was thinking that was making me feel this way because of how often I would get it. I did not think that it was causing me to become a completely different person. So, like I said, I was losing weight. The first time I went to the OBGYN office, I was weighing 123. By the time I got off, I was 104. And I was pretty scared when I found out I was weighing 104 at 20 years old. because throughout my life, I've always been picked on for how skinny I was. I had a fast metabolism, and I was always underweight. And I was afraid of being under 100 pounds at 20 years old. And it even concerned my family as well, like I was saying. So August and September came, I was in school. I only lasted for 3 weeks and I withdrew. I remember I went to the restroom and I was feeling so anxious. I thought I was gonna have an anxiety attack, and I was feeling so nauseous. I felt like there's too many people around me. I'd never experienced anything like that in my life. And there was girls looking at me, just trying to figure out why I was just hanging out in the restroom. And I remember I told my mom I was withdrawing from school. I was like, I hate school. I don't want to be there. It's making me feel anxious. And so I withdrew from school. And I eventually was trying to look around for a job, volunteer, try to do stuff that can get me out of the house. I did not know how to drive at the time, so it was kind of hard. And even my family would try to take me out. And even when my family would take me out, it was hard for me to get my mind off of how I was feeling. I was still feeling like crap. I was still feeling so down. I was still feeling sick. When we would go out to eat, I would hardly eat. I was just not getting any better. And so even things that were even big things that were going on in my life, like my mom getting married, I was in her wedding. I was not happy that day. And I remember looking at myself in my dress, and I even noticed I was looking pretty small. And so it got to a point where I told my mom that I was not feeling like myself. And I had never said those words to anyone before. I've never admitted it to myself before because I never had that feeling. So my mom said that I should go see a counselor, which I'm happy she did. So I went to my counselor, and at that time I was very shaky. I was so anxious. I had so many thoughts of what I was going to say to her. And when my counselor asked me why I was here, I just broke down. I was saying, it's because of this and this and this. And it's like, yo, you need to chill. You know, you don't have anything bad going on in your life. Yeah, there are some things that could be improved, but I was just saying so many reasons as to why I was so upset that even my counselor noticed how anxious I was getting. I mean, she saw me shaking. She saw how I was looking in my face. She noticed how small I was. She'll even tell me to this day that she noticed a big change from the first time she met me to now. And she would, by the first meeting, by like the next couple meetings, she was suggesting for me to do something about my anxiety. And then she asked me if I was taking anything prescription-wise. So I told her I was taking my Depo-Provera shot. And I don't know what I had said, but she eventually looked up the side effects for the Depo-Provera shot. And it said depression, nausea, anxiety, all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, I feel all of that. And she's like, you know what? I think I know what's making you feel this way. And she said, I think you need to get off of it. And once me and her came to a solution, I was like, this damn doctor, giving me this medicine, not really giving me a chance to actually think about it. So once we came to a solution, I was still feeling like crap. I was slowly getting worse. With the anger, with the nausea, with the anxiety, with the loss of appetite. it got to the point where I had questioned my own existence. I had never, ever, ever had a thought like that in my life where I was questioning my own self. And it got me really scared. And that's when I was like, you need to get off of this. There's this little voice inside me saying, you need to get off of this because you are not feeling like yourself. I had never admitted that to anybody until later on. I told my counselor years later that I had that thought whenever I was on my birth control. And, it scared myself. So eventually I joined a Facebook group for women who are experiencing the same thing I was on the Depo-Provera shot. I eventually got off because it was just giving me even more anxiety. So I got off. I was looking up discussion boards and watching YouTube videos left and right. And I ended up finding out that there were women who were being told by their OBGYN that the Depo-Provera shot is not making them feel the way they do. So I kept that in mind, went to my OBGYN, told her everything that was going on with me, and then she has the nerve to tell me that it's not the Depo-Provera causing me to feel this way. And I just felt like I was not being listened to. It got me pissed off. I wanted to burst into tears because I felt like my own OBGYN, who is a woman, is telling me that the birth control is not making me feel this way. And, in the end, I was right, she was wrong, because I know my body more than she does. Yeah, doctors have more knowledge of how this happens in your body, yada, yada, yada. But I felt like I was not being listened to. So I went to another OBGYN in the same location. She had a completely different perspective. She was more understanding. She said birth control affects everybody differently. She even gave me a paper with all these different kinds of birth control, the side effects, the percentage of effectiveness. And I was thinking, where was this all along? I was never given this at all. And at that time, I felt pretty messed up. I felt like I was losing my mind. I had no idea where it was coming from. And so eventually, I was like, you know what? I need to get off of this. So after I decided to get off of this, things slowly started to come into play. I eventually got my license. I got my first job. I eventually went back to school, but it was slowly but surely. I wasn't getting any more nauseous. I started getting an appetite, so I was able to gain some more weight. I was not feeling so depressed. I was not feeling so anxious. Just everything started to get better. However, when I get on my cycle now, I feel everything, which is, unfortunate. But the only good thing I could say about the Depo-Provera shot was that I was not feeling any cramps. And surprisingly, when I got off the Depo-Provera shot, my cramps weren't as intense. Hopefully, knock on wood, I don't experience that pain again. And I got my period. One thing I forgot to mention, I'm sorry, is that when I was on the Depo-Provera shot, I got my period all the time. There was hardly a time where I was not off of it. Probably a few days to a week. And I was never able to keep track of my cycle because it was so irregular. So, I'm sorry. I kind of have to cut it short because I'm running out of storage on my phone. But, so that was my story. I think I was able to recover a little bit faster because I was on it for less than a year. Like I had said, if you're going through this dark time, I'm hoping that you decide to get off of it, I'm hoping, you know, I don't know if it'll get any better if you stay on it any longer. I'm hoping that you have a speedy recovery process. I'm also hoping that this video helped you some, you know, that it's relatable. And I also hope that, you know, you have people that will support you and are right by your side, because I understand how dark the side effects can get. And I'm very grateful that I have people that were surrounded by me and gave me support and lend out a helping hand, and were just there for me and was so understanding. So I'm sorry I have to cut this video short, but thank you for watching this video, and I am hoping that it helps you out some, and I wish best of luck to you on your journey.